Hello, everyone, and welcome to another horrific review. Tell you what, folks, I am getting old. It took me 3 days to get through this. Normally, I can smash through a series, give up and sleep, go to work, and no issues. Old boy needs his sleep, so it took me 3 days to get through this. But there you go. So, Guillermo del Toro's Cabinet of Curiosity has been advertised for a while, and finally dropped there just in time for Halloween. So, oh, great. Oh, by the way, happy Samhain, everyone. Hope you're having a good one. So I thought the best way to do this is obviously I'm not going to go episode by episode. We'll be here for about 9 hours. No need for that. Especially ones I don't like because you know me. So I thought I'd give like an overview, my opinions, go from my least favorite to the one I enjoyed most. Overall, yeah, decent series. Wasn't expecting much. Usually with these sort of anthologies, what I will say is each of them felt a bit dragged out, a bit longer than they needed to be. Don't know why, but a lot of these could have been half an hour. I noticed that from the start they were like 37 minutes, and then it started getting longer, over the hour, which was a bit strange. Weren't very consistent in time. Maybe a wee bit in the editing floor would have helped. The acting in most of them, not terrible, a lot of decent performances, some hamminess, but a lot of sort of weaknesses with the stories. Like I said, they're drawn out, so it's like they got an idea, and then they kind of run out and felt they had to stretch it. So anyway, on here we go. So my least favorite was episode 7, the viewing, and the premise. Sorry, I'll read off the premise and then sort of talk about what it didn't like. A wealthy recluse. Yes, I can nearly speak. Hosts 4 accomplished guests at a stylish mansion for a once-in-a-lifetime experience, but their intrigue soon turns into terror. This had to be like the blandest, most pointless episode of the lot. Basically, you got these four people. They're supposed to be exceptionals in a particular field. We've got an author, a paranormal investigator type person, a musician, and what was she? Physicist, an astrophysicist, I think. So you got these people. Good winner. I could have swore I should have. Looked like Peter Weller. It sounded a bit like Peter Weller. I think it was him. But you get this wealthy recluse. It's all set in 1979. So you've got all this 70s cheese. Got the rotating table, the circular, couch, and he's playing the music. But the attract tape decks, the all automatic pulled in and out. 90% of this episode was just on substance and them doing drugs and drinking. That was it. And then the end, Boogie Woogie Monster. There was no point to the setup of the characters, why I invited them, because they served absolutely no purpose. There was no real mystery to solve. And it was just, it was just bleh. And like I said, the main complaint about most of these episodes is they're all dragged out. So this went on forever. And you were kind of like, oh my God. But you get to the point, will somebody die already or whatever? And yeah, that was it. Least enjoyable one. Got absolutely nothing out of it. Could have done without watching it. My next one up from that would have been Lot 36. That was the first episode. Basically, they made their way. I'll read it. Sorry, I'll read it. The payoff is that a man secures a storage unit filled with mysterious possessions to sell, but soon finds himself in a deadly and desperate situation. Now, there was a premise of a good story. No, I mean, this type of thing's been done before, but they made the main character so unlikable and abrasive, and I think there's a wee bit of dumb Yankistani politics thrown in here too, which is always like, sorry, but the rest of the world, they're sick of this now, so stop it. But that's set in the 90s. I don't think any of these episodes are set like today, but they're set in like ages with a bit of modern sensibility of the the usual nonsense, everyone's bad sort of thing, which can be a bit jarring. But yeah, by making this guy, oh, like, well, now you're supposed to have a friendship. Him and this guy that gets a finds lots, supposed to be friends, but they're not even friends. I think it's an American thing because you see us all the time. The people barely like they're supposed to be friends, but they're barely civil to each other, and they're just close. Like they're not close to like just fighting. It's not pleasant to watch. You get no camaraderie. You get yeah, the monster comes out and kills them because these are all just short. I mean, there's no real spoiler in plot, but that's basically the premise of most of them. But you don't care, and then once again they drag it out, and because they set him up in a certain way, you're just like, nah, whatever. Now they could have had him down his luck in depth, trying his best, but everything turns, the dust that he tries. Fair enough, and his greed, even when he's given an opportunity to get right, made it, but yeah, they just made this all likable. And to be honest, for it to be the first episode, it instantly had me going, "Oh my god, is this going to be a fucking social commentary every episode?" And beating you with him American stuff. And it's like, oh man, no. But there you go. Didn't enjoy that. Just sort of went through it. That sort of story's been done 100 times better in 100 different ways and shorter format. And had you invested in the protagonist. So there you go. Next least favorite was The Outside. Longing to fit in at work, awkward Stacy begins to use a popular lotion that causes an alarming reaction while an unnerving transformation takes place. This could have been my worst one, but the guy on the TV doing the infomercial made it intriguing, and the whole talking, but we never got a payoff for it. Essentially, she's trying, I mean, I've sorry, maybe once or twice in my career, I've actually tried to fit in, and it's always went bad. I think as soon as you accept yourself, and that work isn't your whole life, as in it doesn't have to be your friend base, and you don't have to, I mean, you can get on with your job, you can be polite to people, and you don't have to be a bloody carbon copy. That's the worst thing about civil service is that they're all clones of each other, like all shades of grey and blandness, and have too much of a spark, and dark sense of humor, and I like doing weird shit like this, so I don't fit in anywhere. So I think with me, why I didn't resonate with this thing is that I just don't get that mentality of wanting to fit in so badly that you just can't. I mean, it's weird. It's just a weird mentality, but she's basically works in a bank. She's in the taxidermy. She's got a loving husband, good life, but bit of a plain Jane. That's why she's kind of brought across. Stuff with her eyes was quite weird. They had her like almost her eyes almost popping out of their sockets. The whatever effect they used for that, it was a bit that was a bit unnerving because it was like I was just waiting for one to pop out, just the way they had the effect on as a special effect. But she wasn't a bad person, and these bimbos in work, it's weird because they're all rich, but they're all in the same wage. It's very, very, very odd setup. Although I have worked like me being from a working class background and working in a lot of middle class professions, you've got people who've been sort of jimmied up and you're working in the same ways, they've got more money. I've seen a wee bit of that. But her to be so vapid and empty to want to fit in with these type was just didn't resonate with me as a protagonist. What she did though was this is where this gets interesting and why it's up the list. It's just sitting watching TV, it's set the old style TV with the infomercials, and there's never a TV program on. It's always commercial, which I know you're well familiar with. but the TV starts talking to her. And this lotion they all use, because she goes to a Secret Santa, gets invited for once, and all the rest of them like all get exactly the same gift of this lotion stuff, and it become like a weird lesbian orgy almost, as they're rubbing over each other, and she's just sitting there. It was there's a cultish aspect to it, and there was a chance for it to be deeper, but it didn't go anywhere. And then the ending was just awful. It was the flattest ending. I know these are short stories, but it could have been so much more interesting. Bit of a shame, but there you go. Next one, Pickman's Model. So this is based on H.P. Lovecraft's short story. It wasn't bad. It could have went places. The thing is, the guy that plays Pickman, that accent he puts on is jarring. His voice is absolutely, it just grates on you. You're like, ugh, every time he speaks. And it's a really hammy put on accent. But the whole Boston Art College and that, it kind of follows. What they've done with this is they've almost expanded it as a prequel. Because in the Pickman's Model story, this stuff all kind of gets brushed over, and it's the two main characters going through Pickman's house and discovering the portraits. So they kind of dragged this out a bit. Like I said, this is my main complaint about them all. They made them shorter, punchier. Twilight Zone did it better. Creepshow does it better. I think the danger of this is trying to take itself a wee bit too seriously. So trying to go along them tropes, but be super serious horror. So that's where it kind of falls apart. But yeah, there was a bit of a story, bit of a character development, bit of intrigue. But it kind of went along the same beats as towards the end as a short story, which is fair enough. Yeah, that was it. Like I said, but that guy that played Pickman himself was just that accent he put on was a bit much for me. Next one on the list, The Murmuring. This was the last episode. So, mourning a major loss, ornithologists Nancy and Edgar flock to a secluded home to study birds, but the house's history reveals heartbreak and horror. Yeah, of course, it had to be bloody birds. Flipping set my two off. Of course, when the flock starts going, flipping have two parrots, and they just they're hearing the TV and they went nuts. So took a minute to calm them down, but I thought it was going to be like the birds. Maybe that's what I was expecting, but it was this ghost story. A bit like Haunting in Hill House, that sort of vibe. But the main character in this, she wasn't. I think it was all after a miscarriage, or a caught death or something. They didn't really go into the exact details, but she's mourning the loss of their child. They both are. They're trying to come together from it, and there's this opportunity to observe this unique flock of birds that have a particular murmuration, their flight pattern and their the way they go about things. But she's eventually exploring the mysteries of the house. Now, what I will say about this one is it took a while getting there, like the whole coming up to it dragged out, but towards the end, we actually got a decent payoff. So she had a character arc. She progressed as a person. She dealt with her own grief. She helped the spirit. It kind of came out okay. So while it took a minute to get there, at least there was a decent payoff for this, and the character's decent, and the bloke is what's his face out of what you would call it, the zombie one that I only watched one season of, Walking Dead. I think it's a guy that was the main character in that, as the husband in this. Yeah, decent performance. Like I said, just took a wee bit to get there, but towards the end was decent. Next one on the list then, top three, who is Dreams in the Witch House. Now, I actually did enjoy this one up to the end. It kind of tapered off. It's like they spent so much snippet. This is my complaint about all these. They spend so much time in the build-up, that when it gets to the end, it's like they have to kind of rush and tie it all up, and most of them fall flat, which was a bit of a shame. But yeah, years after his twin sister's death, a researcher ventures into the dark, mysterious realm with the aid of a special drug, determined to bring her back. This was actually an intriguing one. So they have the twins. She's got, when's this set? It's like the 19th century, late 19th century, early 20th century when this is set. He's actually with his twin sister. He plays piano, she sings, but she's cholera, the pox, consumption, something. I mean, one of the diseases of the day was basically taking her. He promises to protect her. She becomes a ghost. She gets stolen away, and then meet him years later, and he's a broken man essentially, just forlorn, going through life, just suffering grief, trying to reconnect with his sister, and he's searching all these mediums until he finds one. It plays with the concept of twins and the connection twins have, and even beyond death. So it goes with that whole concept, which is interesting. The witch herself that he ends up encountering was well done. Her CGI and the sort of motivation behind her was great. She actually played a great character. The wee rat thing, I didn't get. It was almost like a rat leprechaun, weird stuff. And they had an opportunity there to make her like tormented soul, but they didn't make her evil. Think of what do you call it? One about the Tooth Fairy? In the darkness, something. You know the one I mean. Kind of player like that, but better. But yeah, there's a whole build up. There's whole tension. We get the narration from the reader. I think at the start saying it was a happy ending. But this is where it fell on his face at the end. Like I said, it was all built up. It was great. Saw the character development. So same meeting his sister, realizing he can bring somebody back from the realm of the dead or the sort of in between. So people who aren't ready to go or still have unfinished business, end up stuck. They don't pass on to the next plane, so to speak. This is where the witch presides. She's stuck there too and wants to come back, and she tempts him. And like I said, all good build up until the very end, and then it kind of goes, bah, which is a shame. But the reason it's so high up the list is because I enjoyed it up to that moment. Up until the last scene, I was on board. The ending, like that final bit, just put me off. It's a shame, but not enough to not enjoy it entirely. You know what I mean? I'm not hating these episodes. They're kind of playing in the background, popcorn flick, Saturday night sort of thing. Nothing else on. Have a bit of a laugh. Halloween season. You know what I mean? That's what these are. So next on the list, my second favorite is Graveyard Rats. Now I have seen this story somewhere before. I have seen this exact same scenario played out, but with a female protagonist and something, and I can't bloody remember what it is. And I don't know if it was Twilight Zone. I don't believe it was Creepshow. It might have been Tales from the Crypt. It's one of those anyway. But a graveyard robber eyes the riches of a wealthy new arrival to the cemetery, but must survive a maze of tunnels and an army of rodents to secure them. This is just a bit of goofy fun. We start off two grave robbers. They're digging up somebody, and then our main character turns out he's like the supervisor of the graveyard. But what he does is he's helping himself, but he can only get the bodies so much so quick because the rats keep taking them. And like I said, I've seen this before. This thing, I've seen it. If you know in the comments what episode I'm talking about, it's a short thing, and the rats were seeing, all the tunnels underneath the graveyard, and the rats inhabit them, and they take the bodies. I've definitely seen this play out before, and it goes that way. He's in debt, the loan sharks. He's fallen behind, and then there's a person getting interred who has a priceless sword, and he makes that he's going to steal it. And of course, the rats take the body. He follows the rats. This one goes a bit full on because he ends up in like a cavern, and it's almost like they're paying homage to something else. It's like built, the old trope of it being built on an old temple, an older being. So they kind of play that notion, and it pretty much ends the same way as the other one that I can't remember. But characterization was good. It was a bit of a laugh. You weren't meant to take it too seriously, and yeah, out of them all, like I said, that was one of my favorites. And then finally, where are we? Yes. So my favorite one, the autopsy. That's the third episode. A seasoned sheriff investigates a dead body in the woods and calls on an old pal, a medical examiner, to help piece together a series of chilling events. This, in my opinion, was the best one, and it actually started off as if, what is this? Don't know if I fancy it. Starts off, people in the community find a body in the woods, and it's a body in a sack up in a tree. And the sheriff, our main character, deputizes a couple of local hunters to take first watch while it becomes a whole community thing, because these sort of towns only have like a sheriff and a handful of deputies, because it's not like high crime stakes. It's more just community service. So something like this happens, everyone has to jump on board. So you kind of get that feel straight away, and just the hopelessness of what's going on, because basically the first two guys who take a watch end up getting disappeared. We'll meet this other guy who turns out died and then came back as a different person. And this whole thing plays out. And we see a bit of a supernatural thing because the guy can hypnotize others. And then he gets caught, and it turns out he has this like pod, something like an egg type thing, all chasing shoes, and it ends up with an absolute tragedy in a mine where he jumps, blows up. Now, where this really comes into its own is when the sheriff calls his friend, the medical examiner. We meet him and they're talking, and for such a short episode, the characterization in this is brilliant. These two are old friends, and the doctor has found out he's got stomach cancer. He's got 6 months to live. They managed to play this out, and that's where this one stands on its own compared to the others, because everything else was just dragged out and then truncated at the end just to get it finished. This actually had really good pacing. So you have this whole action series. You have the main antagonist identified. We'll have the creature that we don't know what its origins are. That whole plays out, and then the doctor coming in and the friendship between these two, and then the doctor trying to solve the mystery and encountering the creature. And even then, this could have easily been things, but it doesn't. The doctor encounters a creature, and what we'll have then is a complete battle of wills between the doctor and the entity. And that was actually really played out. And how they managed to do this in an hour, these are all mainly an hour. But how he managed to do this, get this all in at the right pacing, and the whole battle of wills. And in fact, he starts to record for his friend, the sheriff who had went away, was coming back. And it all gets tied up in a satisfactory ending. And not the typical good versus bad or happy ending sort of thing. It's really good, really tense. You don't know where it's going. And then the ending is really satisfying. That was my favorite of the whole lot of them. That could have been, that could have been the template for the rest of them. Unfortunately, like I said, I don't know what was going on with the pacing with the rest of them, but did enjoy it. Guillermo del Toro himself, he gives a little introduction at each episode, very Alfred Hitchcock style. What they did with the cabinet itself, it's partly CGI and all, but he has little models to represent each of the directors. So he's effectively being the curator of the museum, which is in the cabinet, and each cabinet opens up and gives an insight into what the story is. neat little things. I like that. It's been a while since I had that sort of thing, and it's good to see. So all in all, not horrible, and what I mean, they're watchable. A lot of disappointing, spicy. It seems like they spent a lot of there's budget spent in effects here, so it didn't look terrible. So it didn't suffer from that. The actors themselves that took part in this were decent, so there's no horrible acting, if that makes sense. It was just the characters that were given. So, and it makes a change. It does make a change to have actors who are actually in the zone playing their characters and making an effort instead of just wooden planking their way through, especially TV series, which we've seen a lot of lately. So it was nice to see that. Um, while I get up in criticisms, there's a lot of good beats in the movies, which is I think why I was disappointed because all I had to do was get tidied up a little bit, especially towards the ending. That's where they needed the focus was how to bring it to a nice conclusion. Like I said, Twilight Zone, Tales from the Crypt, Creep Show, Tales from the Dark Side. They've all done it. They've all done it better. So they could have learned. Taking the beats from that wouldn't have been stealing anything because apart from the Pickman's model and the Graveyard Rats, I haven't really seen any of these other stories before told in that way, which was interesting. They're the only two of them like going, yeah, kind of repurpose thing, but that was okay. So there you go. Like I said, I don't want to go delve deep into every single episode. There's not much there. I'd say watch it. I'd say, yeah, worth a bit of time. Don't try and watch them all at once. I'd split them up. Maybe give yourself a bit of breather in between them. So I wouldn't try and do what I did and binge them over 3 days. Maybe one a night. Just spread yourself out there, enjoy it. Maybe you won't get overwhelmed like me and just be like, oh god, here we go. And obviously I'm looking at it as a critical eye to sort of take them part and discuss them. But yeah, there you go. So if you watch this, do you agree or disagree? Let us know in the comments. Be interesting to see what you think. And don't forget, do all the clicky and typey things that YouTube and the other platforms need. Much appreciated. And stick with us. As always, stuff happening. As always, busy channel. Yeah, have some games being played, more movies doing, another talk spot. As always, got our horrific tales. Getting close to that 100th episode. So everyone wants to get involved. Well, Malcolm. There you go. So until next time, folks, keep it creepy, keep it horrific.